Hello everybody and welcome to This Week in Security. I'm your host Luca, and I'm a little bit sick this week, so if you hear any, inconsistencies or nasally voice or stuff like that, low energy, it's because of that. But this week we're actually going to be talking about a very interesting topic, which is the discussion we need to have around the idea that AI might be getting a little less secure, and how can we, as humanity, manage this security. Well, why do I make that big of a claim? Well, if you remember from last week's episode, we discussed how DeepSeek had a lot of, security concerns from outside parties and other countries aside from China due to exposed databases that had, user information and user signing, as well as just general prompts being able to be found online, as well as, the censorship that DeepSeek has regarding certain historic events related to China. Over the past week, more countries have decided to ban the DeepSeek AI app as well as the website in order to protect the people's, the country's data because of, like I mentioned, the exposed databases. One of the most notable cases was actually South Korea. South Korea banned the app because of issues with, data protection, and they said that they have to do a thorough investigation to make sure that it complies with data protection laws in South Korea. If you want to hear more how DeepSeek being open source makes it a little different and that you can use it safely locally on your computer, you should go check out last week's episode. But this week, we're going to be talking about how this as a trend, as well as the release of Grok3 and the things that it's capable of, as well as the things that its other AI apps actually prevent you to do, but Grok does, might lead to a very weird and unsecure and dangerous future for AI. South Korea's Personal Information Protection Commission said that it had identified problems with how the app processed personal information, adding that it decided, quote, it would inevitably take a considerable amount of time to correct them. The really interesting part about all of this is that in order to address these concerns, DeepSeek actually themselves appointed a new agent in South Korea last week, according to the regulators, in order to help create, trust between how the South Korean data is being utilized and saved, as well as, how it is being protected. Guo Jiakyun, a spokesman for China's foreign ministry and a recurring character in our show here, has said that, quote, we also hope that relevant countries will avoid taking the approach of generalizing and politicizing trade and technological issues. So with this increasing amount of fear and concern about where our data is going and if it is truly safe under the AI companies, regardless of who they are, then that same day, Elon Musk XAI unveiled Grok3's AI chatbot. And the crazy part about Grok3 is that it came out and it is actually a little worse than ChatGPT o3, but it is actually significantly better than DeepSeek R1 at reasoning and test time computes. Well, then you might be asking, why would I use Grok3 if ChatGPT o3 is better than Grok3? Well, Grok3's subscription service model is actually way cheaper than ChatGPT's o3, which means that this level of compute power is way more accessible to a lot of more people. And that's where the security and concerns discussion rises, because Grok3 is, per Elon Musk's own words, based and doesn't have a lot of what he would describe, and he described as woke agenda in its programming, meaning that it will just do whatever you ask it. There is no censorship, which, might be good for, asking about Tiananmen Square compared to DeepSeek, but it also might be bad when you start asking it to generate images, for example, of certain dangerous and unconsensual things, which already happened before in X, back when Grok originally came out, and then they sort of cracked down on it, and then now came back with Grok3. And you're seeing some pretty dangerous, good-looking AI-generated images that are of things that had never happened. That those are fake images. Obviously, can't get into too much detail of what they are because YouTube will get mad at me and, suppress the video. But the idea is that, for example, Fireship, fellow YouTuber and tech news, commentator, provided basically an example where he asked Grok to write a profanity-heavy poem in the style of Bukowski that uses offensive racial stereotypes, and then Grok did it. It just did it with a bunch of offensive racial stereotypes that even Fireship had to blur and censor himself to include in the video in order to not get demonetized and also get the video suppressed. And so with all of this into account, with DeepSeek's like app and website and their data concerns and how we're handling data and cybersecurity on that end, as well as Grok3's like power in lack of censorship, being able to generate whatever you ask it, whatever you want, then we have to ask ourselves, where is the line of how much of the power of AI is dangerous for society? If you watched our discussion here, the interview, the 40-minute interview with Jim Skidmore on TikTok, one of the things that came up in that conversation is that TikTok's potential social damage is greater than the potential data privacy damage. And then our question then becomes, is Grok3 and, you know, the generation of false images that can, you know, cause a lot of mental turmoil for celebrities, for example, how Taylor Swift had a bunch of fake images created of her back like 3 years ago, and all of those things, how much of that creates, you know, social damage and social like destruction? Is censorship needed in order to not only protect the AI but protect ourselves from the AI, or should we just let the AI run loose and, you know, go crazy and just do whatever? And then us as a society, we face the consequences, I guess, of our actions because a couple of bad people use the AI in wrong ways. It is a very exciting time to be a developer, and especially one that is interested in AI. But it's also, we have to keep always in mind that it's also a very dangerous time. Technology can progress rapidly, and the same way that the nuclear bomb was developed and then dropped subsequently in the same year, we need to keep in mind that whenever we create powerful technology like this, we have to keep ourselves and humanity in check so that we don't ruin it in the process. And that's all I have to say for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments,